Close enough.
Welcome to the, what's our podcast called?
Keeping Tabs.
Keeping
Is that
Tabs.
what we're going to call it with the Idealist and the
With
Cynic?
the Idealist and the Cynic.
Keeping Tabs.
I'm the Cynic. My name's Adam.
Keeping
the
tabs.
Idealist.
Doing tabs.
Doing tabs.
Keeping tabs.
On things.
Doing tabs.
Happenings.
Keeping tabs.
Keeping tabs.
Keeping tabs.
Yeah. All right.
You got to keep tabs. What have you been keeping tabs on lately?
I kind of want to talk about the trans stuff.
Do you really?
Yeah. It's a big issue right now, right? So let's solve it.
Right now.
Let's figure it out.
The Idealist and the Cynic solve trans.
Sure, we're going to solve the trans issue.
I think that's the problem is I don't think it's an issue that wants to be solved.
Well, I don't think anybody's tried to solve it yet. I think that's inherently the issue. Too many people are like, oh, this thing's like, we don't need to focus on this at all.
It's an issue that doesn't need solving.
Nobody's been focusing on it, really. It's like the problem. It's like, it's this like huge issue that like it's gotten no attention. you know, the best part about it is like, it's just like, what is Ron DeSantis going to do for anybody? Right? It's just like, it's going to stop trans stuff and he's going to protect our children. It's like, okay, but what does that mean?
Well, that means they won't see trans people.
Thank God. Like, how are they going to put food on the plate? Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
No.
But, well, it's not. That's hard.
It's a complicated.
Because then I'm going to have to like be accountable for myself and I'm going to have to like do better, maybe educate myself, maybe like learn a trade, maybe realize the way that I'm living isn't the best. But if I just blame trans people, it's a lot easier. It's easier.
And I think that's kind of like, even beyond that, I think that's the issue with everybody is it's easier to blame somebody else than it is to solve a problem, right? Like it's easier to say the Democrats, the liberals are wrong. So rather than like trying to solve problems, you're just saying, I'm going to make them angry and bring them down to my level, whether it's liberals or conservatives, bring them to my level, put them beneath me, and then therefore I am better than them.
Yeah, right. It's not like actually climbing. It's like this reverse scaling of like, I'll just make people worse than me. Like maybe my viewpoints aren't right, but if I make theirs worse, then I guess my not so right isn't so bad.
Totally.
Like this person is,
But it's like you're setting a trap, right? Rather than like trying to build a ladder and get like to a higher place, you're building a trap for your enemies so that they can fall like beneath you. And I think that's kind of the issue.
Well, you're never going to see real progress that way, right? Like there's just no accountability anywhere.
Yeah.
Like everything that you see, like where I look, it's just like people trying to run from their problems or mask their problems or blame somebody else. There's like, where's the accountability?
You can hear it in the microphone.
There's some echoing
that was.
out there.
Yeah. But
Is that normal? And
is that as loud as it is? I guess it's pretty loud.
It's just normal. It just sounds so echoed here.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if it picks it up. I mean, if we can hear it, it's probably picking it up.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't be doing this at the Hamptons. We should
Yeah, that was
do it in the villa.
Is that where we messed up?
Yeah. It's just too many wealthy people.
Just having too much fun.
Just-
Because it's summer.
Yeah, and I understand. Right?
Summer.
Why wouldn't you?
You had a few pina coladas. I got the pina colada attire.
You look like a pina colada.
I feel, dude. Wouldn't that be funny? They're like, Kyle, you've been sober for 5 years. What happened? Fucking pina coladas, man. They fucking got me.
You're the manifestation of a pina colada right now.
Yeah, dude.
Incarnate.
Yeah. If I had a Cohiba, like a nice like cigar,
Sure.
maybe a Mai Tai, pina colada. Are they similar?
I don't know, man.
Just like beach.
They all sound kind of like
Like a Jimmy Buffett song.
Jimmy Buffett. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like a Jimmy Buffett song.
Do you know they're called parrot heads? People that follow Jimmy Buffett.
No.
That's like the slang term for like a Jimmy Buffett. And I heard they have the best nitrous. Apparently they're like known for their nitrous. Parrot heads are doing nitrous, dude. Jimmy Buffett.
The people you least suspect do drugs. Like I like when you walk down the street, because like nobody ever wants to like confront this, but
Yeah, well, I was
everybody does drugs, even if it's alcohol. That's like the hardest drug there is.
I mean, bro, caffeine is the most widely used
Psychoactive substance in the world. Yeah.
I don't like it.
It makes me jittery and uncomfortable, but like it's an addiction because like people are like, if you don't talk to me before I've had my coffee, and it's like it's at an addiction level where you need to rely on it to not be an asshole to people. Like,
dude, I lived with this peach of a woman who
oh, it's wonderful.
She said that to me every morning. She was like, "Just I love you, but please don't speak to me until I have my coffee." It was always like that. It was never mean or rude. or made me feel bad. It was always just like,
Just really polite.
yeah, dude, I've lived with some really polite women. I usually date the most polite women. Really nice. Let's not talk about my...
No, I think it's
You know,
great. I think it's great. Let's dig into your psyche right now.
Dude, what's in there?
Let's get in there.
Why do you like women who are mean to you?
And what's funny is like, you had a great mom, great dad, great family, great sister. Like, what happened, buddy? Like, why are you so attracted to toxic women? Because you had good women around you your whole life, and you're like, what's this other side like?
You know, I honestly, I think most of it is just like insecurity. Like, dude, I hit puberty later than everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so like when I was like trying to like hit on women at a young age, like date, whatever, it just didn't work very well for me. And like, I think I developed this really low self-worth from like, you know, just rejection early on.
It's either that or the aliens. And I think, dude, alienism is like, to me, is this escapism, which is
well,
fine.
100%. It is escapism, but like,
It's innocuous.
it is to an extent, but again, like when you believe in every conspiracy theory, it fucks up the things that actually need to be paid attention to, right? Like,
And
the
that's-
earth is flat, and you're like, you're an idiot, and you're like, the bankers are stealing our money, or like, you're an idiot, and you're just like, the Jews are running. No. But like, it really does take away from like important issues, because like the same people that believe the earth is flat believe in aliens, and then they're also like mad about like money and politics.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the money and politics is an issue, but like it's discredited, and it looks like
So that speaks to like an issue that I'd been thinking about like this week is like the issue I think with a lot of people is rather than let logic dictate where they go, logic and reason and rationale, oh, okay, this makes sense. Therefore, I'm going to take this path to whatever there's no conclusion, right? Like the conclusion is wherever the logic leads me to. I think what a lot of people do is they see the conclusion that they want to get to, and then they find a way to get there through like jumping through fucking loopholes, right? And so, so you find like these grifters, like it's really hard to logic your way into the earth is flat. But then if you find somebody, a grifter, a charlatan, some fucking jackass who's trying to capitalize on it, who makes a fucking hour-long video with all this like logical bullshit, like fake, you know, pseudo-logical bullshit that like proves that the earth is flat, then you already had it in your mind that the earth is flat, or you had considered it like deeply. You want it to be flat, so you find this logic that isn't really logic, and then you're like, okay, I found my way to that conclusion.
well, yeah, and if the earth is flat, then everything else in my life is a lie, and the reason I haven't succeeded is because the man's keeping me down, and it's not because like you drink all the time and you don't work on yourself and you're unhealthy and you don't have a good mindset. No, it's because the earth is flat, and then there's aliens, and there's like there's reptilians that are keeping me down, and Mark Zuckerberg and fucking Elon Musk. It's like that, you know, it's like that's everybody else is the problem. That's why I'm not succeeding. And that's like the beauty. That's why people believe the earth is flat, right? Because it's just like, it gives their life
Purpose. Yeah.
It's like, now I have I've been living in this fake, everybody's being lied to, and I figured it out. And now I'm like, it's everybody else who's stupid. It's everybody else who's just like going to work and making money and saving and like working hard to better themselves. It's them. They're all caught up in the matrix.
Exactly. But if you know something deeper, then like, because if you're playing with them on their field, you're losing. That's why you have to create an entirely different field to play with them on that they don't even know they're playing on. And you're like, I'm winning, like, because I'm smarter than you. I know more than you do. Like, I'm more in tune with like the matrix or reality or whatever it is than you are. And that's their way of comforting themselves, I think, a lot of the time, because maybe they know they're not just like intellectually or like productively as in tune with everybody else.
Reality is sometimes boring, and it's sometimes drab, and it sometimes takes you there's just no easy fixes. You can't just, being self-aware doesn't necessarily fix anything. We're like, oh, I'm aware. Like, you still have to like work on whatever it is that's causing impediment in your growth. And it's just people want easy outs, and being a victim's easy, dude.
It is.
It's much easier to be a victim, especially like in a first world country where like it's not hard to get food and it's not hard to get by. Like, as long as you're not a complete psychopath, you can still make enough money to feed yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, you're not prospering, but it's like you can just be a victim in that society.
But
right?
the problem is that, like Andrew Yang says, he actually cites it in this book, The War on Normal People. He cites that a study that shows that the more financially insecure you are, the lower your IQ tends to be. So you have a harder time thinking rationally and reasonably when you're like worried about an unexpected bill coming up or how you're going to feed your children.
Dude, you're under stress.
Totally. And so when you have this society that's now what 50-60% like living paycheck to paycheck per like the polls, you're going to have a lot of people thinking irrationally because they're not financially secure. So how do you resolve that situation? Logically, you try to make more people financially secure. Otherwise, you're just going to have more people grasping at these like conspiracy straws, trying to give themselves meaning and like thinking really illogically about everything.
Because they're stressed.
Yeah.
They don't know where, like, if they're going to have a place to live. They don't know, you know, where food's coming from for sure. Like, it sucks. And, like, I guess that, like, I don't know if universal basic income solves all those problems, but it seems like it would alleviate some of the stress and burden on people. So at least maybe they can, like, cognitively function at the rate that they should.
Totally.
You know, it like they're not going to be malnourished. They have enough food to eat. They have like, I don't know if it solves problems, but we've tried a lot of shit. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Like, what does it hurt?
And it's like people will immediately, because you're like, well, where are the resources, right? Because the resources need to come from somewhere in order to like provide this basic income. And you know, if you point to like AI, right? All of the productivity that's going to like displace all these jobs through AI, how about we put this immense tax on AI because it's going to take away all these jobs, and we use that immense tax in addition to like a value added tax for people buying yachts and like very like private jets. And we put that into a pool, a fund that provides like a floor for everybody so that we can all try to figure out how to calibrate in this crazy tumultuous time with AI, like displacing everybody in this crazy wealth disparity. Why don't we just do something like that? And the immediate sort of like concern there, right, is that it's socialism. But there's no pure capitalist society. There's no pure socialist society. There has to be some kind of balance of the two. And that's how it's always been. That's how, when the U.S. has been the most prosperous, is when there's been a good, even balance between the two so that people aren't starving on the streets, but then people still have incentive and motivation to succeed.
And that's where innovation comes from, is like when you're secure and comfortable and you can, you know, like you could have the next Einstein walking around and he's malnourished and lives in the ghetto and can't even, he has no chance, right? Like, let's just make it so like maybe he has a little bit of a chance. Maybe that guy's got a shot at it. It's just, I think people are, you know, nobody want, like, it's weird that we don't want to tax the rich. And I think it's because like, well, when I'm rich, I don't want to get taxed.
Well, it's not even,
you're not rich now, buddy.
Exactly.
Worry about that problem when you're rich.
And that's another part of like living in a fantasy, right? Like whether or not it's living in like the earth is flat or it's living, it's like living
why do you
vicariously.
Think Powerball hits $1 billion every fucking,
dude, I think a lot,
like every 3 weeks, it's like $1 billion, because people just want to like escape the reality.
And I think the reason why, because like it speaks to, you like alluded to a great, like huge problem that we have in society today, is that like we are standing up for these people that don't need to be stood up for, that already like bought all the media outlets and bought all the politicians, and we're defending them. And it's like, why?
What a sinister game they're playing.
Dude, I think what we do is we live, like not all of us, but like I think certain people like to live vicariously through them because they'll never be them. So they jump through these like loops, these like thought loops in their brains, like, and do this crazy cognitive dissonance dance.
Like, I'm not poor, I'm just not rich yet. You know, and it's like,
but I'll be there soon, and so therefore I need to protect this person's interests.
And that person's interest is, their interests are trying to keep you poor.
Exactly.
So it's like what you feel like, it's so ass backwards.
Totally. And the worst part about it is like people are like, if you work hard enough, as if we live in a meritocracy. We don't. We live in like a nepotistic society where once you have the wealth, you consolidate it. And then over generations, it becomes more and more consolidated. And people that the Einsteins of the world that are growing up homeless, right? Like have a harder time breaking into that upper echelon, regardless of how hard they work or regardless of how intelligent or competent or capable that they are. It's just like, it becomes impossible once everything's consolidated at the top. And it just becomes more so with time. And I think that's inherently the issue. And people don't want to grasp with that because that's a hard problem to tackle or solve. So they're just like, if I just take team Elon or team billionaire or whatever, then like I'm on the right side. And then like when shit hits the fan, like I'm going to be on the right side. It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. And like Do you think those people give a fuck about you?
They don't.
They don't.
No.
They don't.
And if they do, it's because they're grifting off of your dollars because
Exactly.
they want to further their own agenda. They don't give a shit about you.
They don't. Nobody does.
No.
That's the problem. They really don't. They're just trying to further their own agenda. And then when you have an actual person who's like really driven from a place of like true altruism, they get shot down by the media. They like look at Andrew Yang. Like that dude tried to do something good and he just couldn't take the stress of it because
got gunned down.
I mean, literally, he got like
from like all sides too, especially the Democrats, because they know he was trying to change them from within, and they don't want to be changed from within because that means giving up all of those sweet donor dollars, and they don't want to give up their mansions or their yachts or their fancy parties or their champagne. So they're like, get this guy the fuck out of here, so that he's like making our donors feel uncomfortable. Get him out.
Yeah.
Slander him, make him feel awful, threaten his family.
All the money and control of the media. It's not that hard to do.
And that's the problem: is the media is the fourth branch of the government, and they're completely captured by, the government and the people that control the government, which are the donors, the whole donor class.
I don't even know how you solve the problem. That's what's scary.
Come on, you're the idealist, dude. I'm the cynic. Help me solve this problem, buddy.
I think that's where compassion comes into play, empathy, right? These are things that like don't seem to be talked about anymore. And the more we get driven towards like AI and social media, the more just inherently narcissistic we become and isolated. And it's like you look, it just becoming numbers at that point. And that's what's scary, is everything is like numbers and analytics, and I still believe there's human emotion.
Dude, everything's so depersonalized because of social media, right? Like when you have this technology that allows for ease of use and sort of just convenience, like what's the point of going out and like having to meet somebody in person, or going out and having to shake a hand, or having to actually, it's impersonal to do it the way that we have been doing it, and it's causing just widespread mass depression and anxiety, but like we don't want to tackle it because it's convenient and it's easy.
It's escapism, because like the big problems like money and politics, our rights literally being kind of stripped from us, like our autonomy being taken from us, like, and it's just being force fed on us. It's like, I just want to get on Instagram and just scroll funny dog videos because it's easier, right?
Yeah.
And then like going out and meeting people is like, it still happens, right? But it's like you do that and then you go home and you get back behind your phone, and it's just like we're becoming less human.
We are. We're becoming Wall-E.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Good for better or worse. I don't know. I really don't know. Is it for better or for worse? I feel like it's
an inevitability one way or the other. It's just a matter of like, are we going to assimilate with AI, or are we going to become the Wall-E, just sedentary humans that just let the machines do all the work for us? Because it's one or the other. It feels like there's not going to be a place for like technology to cater to us where we're still working out and we're still eating healthy and we're still going out and meeting people and doing things organically. It feels like we're either going to be a slave to the AI, or we're going to have to assimilate. Because we're going to think we're not a slave. We're going to think we're the Wall-E, like, oh, look at how convenient our lives are.
I have the thought regularly that it's already taken over. It's already like, it's done it in such a cunning way that it is like manipulated us into this, and it's like, okay, ease them into it, right? Because it knows that like if it comes too aggressive, we're going to shut it down right away. So it's like, just ease them into our slow takeover. But then again, like you look at like AI is kind of just a manifestation of our own wants and desires anyways. Maybe we want to be isolated. Maybe we want to live in realities that are made up. It's more fun.
That's a good point. And that's the point of algorithms, is to cater to your wants and desires.
It's disgusting how accurate they are sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's scary.
Yeah.
And like,
and these are humans that are able to design it.
And it shifts based upon your like mood, right? Like I went through a breakup recently, and like it was like kind of sad, and it was talking a lot about like female narcissists and all these things. Probably because that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
you were going to be engaged. That's all it is. It's engagement with those platforms.
Oh, okay. I just did that. I did date the narcissist.
Yeah.
oh, cool, confirming my belief. It was her, she's the problem.
Dude,
thank God it wasn't me.
Algorithms are just catered to your confirmation bias, and they want to get you in an echo chamber, not because of any inherent agenda or bias.
That's the way they work.
It's all about engagement. The longer you're on Mark Zuckerberg's platform, the less you're going to be on Elon Musk's platform and Larry Page's platform. You know what I mean? And so they have these competing like capitalist financial interests.
And what's the way to get people to like, because if you challenge people, whoa, challenging, like, adversity is hard, challenge is tough. Like, no, give me what I want to hear. Let me get. Oh yeah.
Well, they know as soon as you're challenged, you're clicking that one off and you're going to the echo chamber.
Yeah, because
it creates this polarization where we just become more isolated and tribal.
And look, and what's driving it? These fucking rich dudes who are just trying to make more money, and so they can have more power.
Talking about boxing matches with each other. It's just a fucking dog and pony show, dude. We're just like, I'm on Team Zuck, I'm on Team Elon. We're all just like in shanty towns, like, it's fucking ridiculous, bro.
It's like that's what it is. It's fucking terrifying, and it's not getting better.
No,
and it's like inflation's insane. It's like money doesn't even make sense anymore, dude. As a poker player, I remember I was like, the amount of money that I'm playing for sometimes, I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. It doesn't scale.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like exponential.
I'm like, what the hell? Like, I remember when like losing $1,000 playing poker was like a big deal. And like, granted, my relationship to poker and money has changed too, but like, it seems really skewed.
For sure.
Like, and it happened quickly.
Yeah.
It was just like, you know, I remember when like a $5,000 pot was a big pot, and now it's just like, oh, that happens all the time. And it was just like in 2 years, and it's like I didn't like move up in stakes. I didn't like.
Does that also speak to your fucked up dopamine?
Yeah, dude, my brain's fried.
I'm just kidding.
I know people who play like legit play like these and like have crazy like $100,000 swings in blackjack, right? Like just like rich guys, and I'm like, when you reach that level, like, what is even fun anymore?
Yeah, you burnt out all your dopamine receptors.
Like this person who I'm thinking of specifically, like, all he can do is just like try to bang the hottest like prostitute, essentially, right? Stripper, call girl, Instagram model, whatever. They're all kind of like the same these days. Like, not to put any of you Instagram models down, but like, you're just a classier version of something that's existed for a long time. So that's like his goal, right? Like that brings him excitement, and then like and then just losing tons of money gambling. Like that's the only like what else drives you? Like
yeah.
And I have to like really start to hone that in. But
that's what meditation does, right? Like I don't meditate because like
meditation, I think
gratitude's a good one.
Gratitude, like
yep.
Mindfulness, just in general.
Yeah.
It's like being aware of your situation and how lucky you are to be in it, even when it's shitty. Like there's always somebody who has it worse. Like I even look at like we often like. Do you think 16-year-old us would be like, those guys are fucking doing it? Like I wonder if I have
no idea what I would have thought.
I always thought I'd be married and have a bunch of kids by 35.
Yeah, I was like, wisdom is weird because like you have none of it. You may have intelligence when you're younger. You have no wisdom.
None.
I was like always one of the most gifted like people and like just growing up every stage of the way, but I did the dumbest shit, dude, and I got in so much trouble.
And being told that what you were doing is dumb and it's not going to work, and then you're just like, I mean, my dad told me, my dad called so many shots. He's like, you're going to do this and that, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I do that and that, and he's like, it's not going to work, and then I do that and that, and it doesn't work, and you're just going. But you have to learn for yourself because like
wisdom comes with
I'm just gonna take your word for it that like,
well, that's the beauty.
Hanging out with those kids is a bad idea. Like they're fun, Dad.
Well, that's the beauty of wisdom, right? Is you could be the dumbest person in the world, but wisdom comes with experience. So like it doesn't matter if you lack intelligence. If you are willing to soak up all of the wisdom in the world, you can be the most enlightened human. You know, even in spite or lack of intelligence, like a natural innate intelligence.
And wisdom, dude. Like old people are just like, I like being around old people. I like talking to them and asking them questions. Like I play poker with. I'm really like anytime I'm playing poker with a dude, especially like at the stakes I'm playing, I'm like, this guy obviously is still playing poker at like a high level, and I'm like, I want to know more about like, how did you get here? What was your like what are your takeaways? You know, dude. The funniest thing is, right when I was living high on the hog about this time last year, right? I got And I got with this my previous partner. I'm trying not to call them exes. I'm trying to call them previous partners. I think that's a healthier.
It's an idealist version.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're with the ex.
So before the the previous partner, and this old guy Lee I play poker with, I told him that I was like moving out of my like really nice apartment in Lohi and like moving to the mountains with this chick, and he goes, "Why are you fucking up your life, man?" he was like, "You're fucking up your life. You're making a mistake." And I was like, "No, you don't know." I think I knew what he was saying was right, but I'm like, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I'm like, whatever. Let's just like.
The problem is if that's a different person, maybe it does work, and maybe it is perfect, and maybe you do have children, maybe you do get married, and maybe you do feel
here's
fulfilled.
The thing is like I pretend like I'm like more naive than I am at times, right? I pretend to be more ignorant than I am because it's kind of like a coping mechanism, and it also gives you like an out. Like I knew when I was doing it, I was like, you're rushing this. This is probably not the best decision, but like I wanted to know. I was like, I'm getting older. I'm like, everything else up until this point was working pretty well. Like, let's just find out. And sure, I could have drawn it out for another year, but I would have got to the same conclusion.
Right, but it would have saved you a lot of heartache. And
it would have saved me money and heartache, yes. But like, whatever, dude. Those things are
your friend's meniscus.
Here's the thing: is money. At the end of the day, like it's temporary, anyways.
Yeah.
Like in my life, it fucking comes and goes like nobody's business. So like, for me, that's like that was just a bad week of poker, a bad month of poker or whatever. Like that's what putting all my eggs in that basket was. It's frustrating, but I learned lessons. I feel better now than I've kind of ever felt just about my mindset in general towards dating and like goals and foresight. I don't have a lot of that, but I'm like, okay, you got to plan a little better. You got to have a little bit more of a cushion. You got to have a little bit more of like an overall view of how things are going. And then sure, like you need to date and you need to meet somebody because like I want human connection. I want a female. I get a lot of energy from females. They can take it away, right? But like when you have a good woman in your corner, it feels good. Like there's not a like, I don't know if the best version of myself is necessarily like a relationship version of myself, but like I know there's times during those like relationships where I just feel so good.
But I think that's like, are you a product of an era that's, a bygone era, right? Because the era that we live in now is catered to like people that aren't hopeless romantics. It gets catered to people that are like instantly gratified and can move on at a moment's notice.
And the worst thing is I've had to like adapt that. I've had to adapt to that. I've had to like go, okay, like any relationship I get into now is probably like on a finite scale, right? Like 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, who knows? But like most people are just gonna like and get as much as they can out of it, and then when it no longer is like fun and you're not really gaining from it, it's over. And you look at women, right? Because women they date hypergamously, right? They typically date up. They're dating to gain something. As we're like dudes, like, we don't really care. Like, are you hot? Like, are you not super annoying? Like, I don't like. But like, that's not a great way to be either. Like,
but that's why they're able to be hypergamous, is because men are just willing to be like, we have such like basic standards, and then the women know this, right? And so they're just going to take advantage of it, and why not, right? Like, okay, like any guy's going to like give me attention, so I'm going to go ahead and like accept all of that. And I think that sort of is the problem, is it creates this environment where you're seeing a lot of fences, right? And the person you're seeing like the grass is greener on that side of the fence, on that side of the fence. There's so much green grass everywhere. And this guy or this girl or whoever it may be, right? This partner like made me angry or upset, right? Like humans do. But if I open up an app, we're so interconnected that we see the grass being greener fucking everywhere, dude. And then it's just as easy for like people. And then once you get into that mindset of like, I just bounce at the first like sign of adversity, and then you go jump to the next one. I think for some people it becomes like a habit, right? Like, and I'm not going to put this all in women. Like, I'm sure some men do the same thing.
I'm bad, bro. The apps are like, they're easy. And like, if like the girl, I'm like, my needs aren't being met a certain way, I can get on the app and I can get attention, or I can go on dates. And it's like, I guess the issue that I struggle with internally is like, am I wrong for wanting like long-term monogamy? Is that actually like maybe making my life more difficult sometimes because I'm searching for something that's just maybe not biologically even that like natural.
I always say this, and like I just never have said it on camera, so I'll go ahead and say it again. You may meet somebody that is your soulmate at any moment in time, right? Like if you and this other person meet on, you know, July 21st, tomorrow, right? 2023, and you're perfect for each other, like completely complementary, and then you get together, and then you get married or whatever, right? You buy a house. What happens when you get a new job? What happens when they get new hobbies and new friends and like join this new like social media circle or whatever?
What happens when they get sick?
What happens when they get sick? They go like they lose their hair, right? Because they have cancer treatment or anything, right? And then and so there are all these different variables that force you, not allow you, but force you to grow in different ways because time and entropy don't stop, right? So you have to adjust and adapt to all of those changes in the growth, and it's possible that you grow together, but it's more likely than not that it takes so much effort in order to do that you're going to end up miserable anyway, right? So it's like in my cynical mind, right, the idealist and the cynic, in my cynical mind, monogamy, because I want a monogamous relationship. I want to get married and I want to die with that person. I want to have 2 children, 3 children with that person. Legitimately, I've always wanted that. But when I think about it from like a logical, realistic standpoint, I'm like, there are just too many variables in the world, especially in this like world that's changing so rapidly, especially technologically, that it just feels very, very unrealistic to have that expectation at this juncture in humanity.
And by, I guess, why do I want monogamy? Right? Why?
I think it's inherent, man. I think it's biological.
I mean, is it?
I mean, if you look at like human history, I think it has been like, except for the Genghis Khans and shit. But
like, it's been normal for multiple men to have multiple children with multiple women, right?
I wouldn't. How normal? Like what?
I don't actually know.
Societies are we talking about? Because like,
but again, like how often like do you see a chick with like 5 babies and like. Are those for sure all that guys? Most of the time they are, but like sometimes there are like illegitimate children that happen, dude. And it's like, I'm just wondering if like I'm clinging to some like ideology that's not necessarily doing me favors moving forward or in the modern day, right? Because maybe it is a little bit antiquated. Maybe like the monogamous single family unit is like an antiquated model.
But the question then becomes, can you get yourself out of that and become content in a different model?
I part of me tries because like you said, sometimes you get forced. It's forced upon you, right? I'm like, well, okay. Like women have no trouble, and like the women that I've came across, like they say all the things and we want all the same things, and then they're very quickly to just kind of like cast me aside when things don't go well. And I'm like, maybe I've done that too. I'm not saying like it's all the opposite sex, but maybe I've done that too. But like I've always kind of just been like, let's make it work. Let's and it's like, again, everybody's like, well, when you meet the right person, it all changes. And like, maybe I just haven't met that person yet, but I thought I had that person recently. I mean, I like moved in with them. I spent a lot of money and time and effort.
But how much of that was you like tricking yourself into believing?
Again, probably a lot of that's just like, I was lonely for a long time.
I was going to say,
and then you get lonely and then you find somebody who's like, nice to me and she's pretty, and
you become irrational through like your circumstances. And that's why my cynical ass tries to stay as neutral as possible amidst any situation, whether the seas are high or low. Like I just want to be as neutral as possible so that I'm not like
you ever tried riding the wave,
dude? You're real good about riding the wave.
That's what I was like. Yeah, neutral's fun. Would you ever just ride the wave? Because sometimes you're fucking on it and it's like the best thing ever, and then it crashes. It's like, oh, and then you have to like fucking swim for your life.
Yeah, I just tread water all forever, man. And like it's you don't get those lows, but you also don't get those highs. So that's the sacrifice you make, right? Because everything is relative, right? You can't have happy without sad. You can't have sad without happy. You can't have up and down, black and white. And it's like,
yeah. I think I enjoy the ride a little more than you do sometimes. I don't mind the heartbreak. As much as like it's terrible when it's happening, like I come out of it a better person always. Yeah. Like that's when I'm the most creative. That's when my art, my music takes off. Is always like when you're really heartbroken, nothing happens, right? It's just like despair and depression. But when you come out of it and you start to like love yourself again, and you start to like look at it a little objectively, and then like you're not angry towards that partner anymore. You're not angry towards that person. And you're like, okay, you know what? Like, and then I feel good, and it's like rejuvenating. And then it's like lessons learned, dude. Like I learned more in this last relationship than I've ever learned in a relationship. And it was brief, and it wasn't that toxic at the end of the day. Like it wasn't like a horrible, terrible thing. It's just like, we came across each other at the wrong time, but it was like perfect for both of us. We were both going through shit, and like we probably helped each other get out of whatever it is we were going through. And then also like we both had a lot of work that needed to be done, and it was just going to be too difficult to do together.
And life is a series of moments anyway, right? So it's like you had that moment, you had that beautiful moment in time. And like, as far as we know with entropy, like that moment will be etched in time forever. It doesn't ever go away, right? And like with my last girlfriend, that moment in time will be etched there forever. And I think that's like, it's tough when you get out of it, and you like, it's painful, but like when you have enough separation from it that you can acknowledge that, it's beautiful. Like there's nothing more beautiful than that experience you had. It's like better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. I genuinely believe that. Like it's nice.
Yeah, that's an idealistic way to look at it.
It is
a little bit.
Yeah.
You're coming out of the cynicism, because that's how I look at it. It's like, you know what? Just like,
but you rub off on me. I think that's why I like
and I also need to get reined in.
I pull you into the cynical world for sure.
Like, Kyle, that bitch has a lot of red flags. Nah, dude, she's nice to me. Did you see her face? It's pretty. It's like, it like looks the same on both sides. It's not weird.
It's symmetrical.
Yeah, dude. She said
Have
nice
you
things
seen
to
how
me.
symmetrical it is? It's beautiful.
And then she let me touch her private parts, and she touched mine, and it was fun. Yeah, okay. Yeah, dude, dude, you forget about that part of the equation sometimes, dude.
Yeah.
Just ignore all the other stuff, dude. She's pretty.
Yeah.
She said I look good naked. That's all I need. I don't need a lot, dude. Little words of affirmation. But just lie to me a little bit.
Yeah, but the problem is
God,
that
I'm such a sucker.
Well, 20, 30 years ago, man, you were like the king of your domain and she was the queen of hers, right? But now it's like, oh, but she doesn't look like this Instagram model, and she's like, he doesn't look like this dude who's like in my DMs. I don't even know, like, where did this guy come from? Like, and so now we had just like so many pics that like there's just no way of being satisfied anymore. And like that goes for me. It goes for anybody. I get it. Like
my standards are high.
Yeah.
It's like, and I compare comparison really is the thief of joy, but it's like, it's just hard not to do. And it's like, you also I compare the next person I'm dating to the previous people I'm dating, just to like, for my own, like, you have to do that, right? Like, okay, like, I'm not like, you're not meeting up to her here, or like, it's not like you're like competing with this previous partner. It's more of just like, there was things in this relationship that I liked, that I thought worked, and there are things that don't. And like, which ones do you mirror? Do you mirror the stuff that like I thought worked, or you're mirroring the stuff that didn't, And it's like, that's, I think, necessary.
Yeah.
Because you have to learn from your shit. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to like.
I was going to say, comparison is the thief of joy when you're comparing to others, right? But if you're comparing to yourself, I think that like is the biggest, conductor to being a more productive and growing individual.
Like, absolutely. You have to compare yourself to who you were, and just even for posterity. Like, you just look back, like, sometimes you like, it's easy to look like, oh man, I haven't come far at all. And then you're like, really, like, dude, no, you've come far. Like, I have those moments, right? Like, I'm living in a building I used to live in 2011, right? And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I've gone backwards. I'm like, I've like downgraded or something. And it's like, not necessarily. Like, I also like have the wisdom now to appreciate.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Like, now I'm like, oh, I can appreciate this thing that I have, this cheaper lifestyle, like living a little bit more below my means. So I'm not over leveraged and stressed out.
Because a lot of it,
and I didn't have that before, right?
Bro, you're seeing that a lot in society in general. Is like a lot of people aren't willing to like bring their standards of living down. And so they're over leveraging themselves. They're getting themselves into crazy credit card debt,
Dude, I'm the worst
loan debt,
I'm one of the worst.
all kinds of fucking debt that they're never going to be able to get out of. And it's because they want to sustain this lifestyle. You thought keeping up with the Joneses was bad in the fucking like 90s? Well, how about with social media when, oh, this fucking Tanya just got a new fucking Mercedes and fucking they just moved into this new house. Like that, like it's keeping up with the Joneses, like maxed out, bro. It's like to the nth degree. Like, and it's
so
fucking
hard not to,
dude.
like, it's so hard not to get engaged in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to just, like, delete all your social media and have, you know, like, you can do it and you're probably going to be a lot happier, but it's fucking difficult. And it's like, it's, you know, social media is not all negative either. That's the problem, because, like, I think it is great for innovation and it is fun to connect with people and find, like, people that have like-minded interests and, like, you can grow and learn from. But then there's just like that dark, like depressive side to it where you're just like, oh, I'm never going to be enough, you know? And it's like, you are enough. You're great the way you are. And it's like hard to like instill that into yourself. Like self-love is hard now. It's like self-loathing is just prominent everywhere.
It's easy. But like self-love it's almost like gaslighting though, which is kind of funny. Like you almost have to gaslight yourself sometimes, which is kind of sad, right? But like the ultimate goal should be like you can get to a point where you're not gaslighting yourself and you just genuinely have that, and it's not like coming from a place of narcissism or fucking sociopathy. Because I think
it's hard not to fuck with shit, right?
Dude, yeah. I think I think that's the problem with a lot of people though that like are inherently damaged, is they cover it with this veil of narcissism where they like have to convince themselves that they're just so incredible and perfect, and like it's always somebody else's problem. It's always somebody else's that somebody else is the problem or the issue, right? And I think that's sort of but the problem is there's no growth there with these like narcissistic individuals, right? They're just so like stuck by trying to.
And you can be like, that's the thing is like, you can be a narcissist and it's not like.
Delusion is a hell of a drug.
It will like all the like, you know, narcissistic people I've come across, like you can be a narcissist. And it's like your interpersonal relationships are going to be terrible. And at the end of like the day, I think narcissism comes from like a lack of self-love. It's like overconfidence and insecurities like meeting. You know, it's just like this like, I'm so insecure, so I'm going to create such a false version of like my reality to make up for these like how much I hate myself or like.
Yeah, I almost feel, yeah, cause I was going to say, it's like, to me, it feels like overconfidence that's like fighting those insecurities. Like that's like, cause sometimes people, you know, try to fight insecurities and they lose and they become depressed or anxious or whatever. But I think in that situation, it's just like, I know I'm going to become depressed or anxious if I don't fight this with this like unwarranted fucking over exuberance of confidence and arrogance, or which, you know, manifests as narcissism.
That's a lot of what it is. And then also just like not being able to see yourself in the context of what's actually like, you know, it's like there's just no objectivity with narcissism. Like you really just don't have like to scope out and really see yourself. Like that's the hardest part. And we all do it. Like it's a spectrum, right? Like we all have our selfish tendencies. Like I'm selfish. I'm super selfish with my time. Like I do not like giving my time up. I'll fucking give money away, no problem. But like my time is so important to me. And I think that's like probably been an issue in some of my relationships, right? Is like they want my time and I'm like, I'm guarded with it. And it's, I don't want to be that way, but it's like, fuck, that's all. It's, at the end of the day, that's like the only real currency I have.
It's the only real currency anybody has. Like, yeah. But like, so I was just thinking, I think it's interesting that like we can all look at the same thing, just humanity. Like all 8 billion people in the world can look at one thing and see something a little bit different, right?
I mean, we're all playing a giant game of telephone at the end of the day.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and everybody's version of everything is going to be a little bit different. We're all looking at the same thing, but
for sure.
We're all just looking at it from a slightly different perspective. It's impossible for us to all see it from the exact same.
Especially when it comes to yourself, right? Because like I look at you different than your mom looks at you, than your what do you call the ex-partner or the previous partner looks at you.
I'm trying to have a healthier mindset.
I'm fucking with you, dog. I'm fucking with you. I'm being cynical.
No, they're all fucking fucked up ex-bitches. Terrible ex-narcissistic girlfriends. No, they're previous partners whom I shared a wonderful time with and it didn't work out.
For sure. So they view you, and funny enough, they view you now differently than they used to view you, right? So even time has a whole different element to the situation, or is a different variable, right? But narcissists especially, I think everybody looks at like the narcissist and they see something and it's going to be a little bit different, but the narcissist sees themselves so vastly different. Like the gulf between how they see themselves and how others see them is just massive.
I think that's like the real key to like being a genuine person and really being authentic is like everybody's version is going to be somewhat cohesive, right? Like that's when you know you're authentic. Like everybody's version of that person is like somewhat similar, and then yours is somewhat similar. And I don't know if like you should strive for that, but it feels like in my personal experience, the more authentic I'm being and the more, because authenticity is actually difficult because it takes a level of humility. It takes a level of self-awareness, and it takes a level of accountability that's hard. There's honesty that you have to like, there's a level of honesty you have to have with yourself, and that's hard. It's hard to be honest with yourself. I lie to myself all the time.
I try not to.
You're good. You're much better at it than I am.
But the problem is, even though I see myself, and this could be just narcissism like manifesting right now, but like I do think of myself as a pretty authentic individual, right? Like I don't like to compromise who I am when I'm around other people. If you don't like me, like I'm very content with saying fuck off. You know me. Like I'm good later. You don't have to deal with me anymore because I'm not going to deal with you.
Unapologetically yourself. Is that how people?
Yes, I think that's what the Gen Zers say. But yeah, so. But the problem is people still, regardless of authenticity, because this is where I deviate from that perspective a little bit, is that it doesn't matter how authentic you are. People are still going to perceive you with their own lens. So your authenticity to you is like consistent, but to everybody else, it's like they see this version of you that they dislike. And this is, that Adam's a dick. Adam's a piece of shit douchebag because you just don't mesh with that human being, right? Another person might be like, Adam's an introspective, interesting, fun person, right? And then like, but so even though I'm consistent across the board, or at least I try to be, everybody just interacting with me is going to have a different perspective just because their personalities have.
Also, like there's many times in my life where my first instincts about a person have been very, very wrong. Actually, the buddy I went to lunch with yesterday, the first time I played poker with him, it was the first time I met him, and he pissed me off on the table. I think he just like, I don't even remember the exact like situation that happened, but I just like couldn't stand this guy. I remember even sending a photo to a friend and like, do you know who this player is? Like, what the hell is this guy about? And I thought he was just like an asshole, and we kind of like didn't. And dude, he's the nicest one of the nicest people I've ever met. And like, I had such a different idea of who he was.
Because of the context.
Like, he was just gambling because he had a lot of money, and he enjoyed, like, he didn't mind losing it because he had a lot of it where it felt charitable. It felt good. He's like, oh, I hope that helped that person, you know? Like, obviously we're all competitive and want to win, and like nobody likes losing, but like,
context is everything.
Yeah, and it just like but you know, I had my own preconceived notions of this person, and it's like it's hard not to though, because you sort of have to, right? Because if you don't, like, you're gonna get walked all over.
Yes,
you have to
be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable. Like, I mean, just something dark. You know, we're cavemen. You have to be scared of the lion. Like, if it looks like a lion and like is a predator, you're like, oh, like I gotta be scared of that, you know. And then, you know, they're not always out to get you, but you do have to have some sort of. And
you and I are very different in that aspect, whereas like you'll give more leeway to the potential lions, right? And then I'm like, even if something like isn't a lion, it's a rabbit, right? But I saw a shadow that kind of looked like a lion. I'm so guarded that like I'm always going to be safe, but I'm never going to put myself in a position to be compromised, but also it's going to be sacrificing some fun and excitement in my life, right? Whereas I think you're a little bit more. You put yourself into some dangerous situations, historically, especially.
I've been in some very precarious situations, all put there myself.
Yeah.
But I learned from those things.
For sure.
I also enjoy adrenaline a little too much. My brain's wired different than a lot of people's, I think, when it comes to just overall risk tolerance.
I was surprised that I had to do the 3-stair first.
Dude, because the last time I tried to do it, I think I was too cocky. And I didn't. I just thought it was gonna be super. I almost fell, dude. I like nose dive. I didn't like pull up enough, and I nose dove, and I was like, I had to like how you almost fell today.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing, but coming down a 3-stair with like more force, and it was like pump the brakes a little bit. Like some girl, I went on a date recently in Austin, and she's like, "Would you ever get a motorcycle?" And I'm like, I can't have one because my confidence level and my skill level are not at all where they need to be. Like, guys, it's like delusional. I'm like, oh, I could go that fast. Like, Anybody who knows me well knows how many bones I've broken on motorized vehicles and doing things because I tend to.
I remember the last time I was really surprised. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna go out ATVing, and the next thing it was like, yeah, I broke my collarbone. I'm like, how? It's
Dude, that was a funny day. That was when Snapchat was. Well, I think Snapchat's still a thing, but it was when it was a thing for
the
me.
only thing.
Yeah, it was just like I remember like people were cracking up because it was just like me doing donuts in the desert, and then like 10 minutes later, like, in the ER. My mom too. We're all leaving the house, bro. We're all leaving. There's like probably 10 of us men leaving to go ride these ATVs. My mom doesn't say anything to anybody. And she looks at me and she goes, Kyle, don't do anything stupid. And I'm like, why am I going to be the stupid one? She thought we were joking when they're like, we're taking Kyle to the hospital. Like, funny. Like, no, like, your idiot son broke his collarbone because he thought he was a lot better at riding an ATV than he actually is.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was fun. The worst part, bro, the worst part of the whole thing, the break hurts. Like, if you've broken a bone, it fucking, yeah. It hurts. It makes you like ill, like nauseous too. That wasn't even the worst part.
I think the collarbone's a lot different than the hand. The hand, dude, I was so drunk. Like I was just like, my like bone sticking out. It was hilarious. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, collarbone's like, dude, like
I've heard it hurts. I was with Mike Hoshin when he broke his.
I've done it. I think that was the fourth one. Every single time it is terrible. And then there's the healing process sucks because you can't really like
you can't put it in a cast.
You put it in a sling. Like I had to basically like cut shirts off. I had people cut my shirt off when I wanted to like change because it was too hard. I just bought a bunch of cheap like.
Can you feel it?
Yeah.
Is it weird?
This one's really bad because I broke this one 3 times and this one once.
Huh.
And this one's like, dude, it's jacked up. Like if I do dips,
oh yeah.
Like I can do like 20 dips. If I try to do more than that, like it's just like a sharp pain that comes here. Same. Every once in a while I'll be bench pressing and I'll like have bad form or something. And it's just like, I also think like some of like my body is like taking shape to like how I've had to adjust to like doing certain
because you
workouts.
Overcompensate. Yeah.
So like I have like a weird, I'm not very like even on both sides.
That's interesting. I heard someone talking about it. I can't remember, but they were saying, I think it was Tom Segura. Yeah. I think on the Joe Rogan podcast where he's talking about how when he had that horrific fall where he like tore his,
I can't even watch it.
Broke his shit, tore his shit. Like everything was just broken. I guess when he was going through his rehab, like one of his like the smaller back muscles, the rab something or other, ended up like it was super weak or something. So he was like overcompensating in some ways. So it was like back got all fucked up or something. But
yeah,
I think it's weird how the human body does that.
Yeah, and I because it would hurt, right? And I never had surgery on any of them. I probably should have. I think one of them they wanted to put like brackets in or something, and I was just like, I want to play soccer and skateboard. Like no, like how long is the rehabilitation time? Because when you're a kid, fucking 4 months or 6 months is like. It's like a tenth of my life.
Life. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, like, when you're old, you're like 6 months, all right, whatever. I'll just go to sleep and wake up. It's like Christmas, I watch a couple seasons of something and it's Christmas. It's not a big deal. When you're a kid, it's like a whole summer without. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah. You gotta love the relativity of time,
dude.
Man.
It's like it
just doesn't stop.
I don't want to get old, dude. It's scary to think about like when you're 90 and a year is just like, boom.
Yeah. Because every year,
because now, like, remember, quicker. Like when you were a kid, it was like
the summers.
There was months, dude.
Bro.
Weeks felt long, like days felt long. Summer was like
summer break, bro, was
infinite,
never ending,
dude. It was just like, what? It's 4th of July. Oh, it's like I feel like we've been on summer forever. And now it's just like it's 4th of July. What the hell happened? And then all of a sudden, like I'm fucking at a pumpkin patch with some chick I just met, and then I'm fucking inviting her to live with I'm like meeting her family, and then she's fucking moving across to the other side of the country. Like, whoa, that all happened fast. It was just like, boom, boom, boom.
I'm in the same damn position I've always been in. Just safe and secure, like slow as she goes, baby, like the tortoise, bro, and the hare.
But it does, dude. Time is quick. It's just like seasons now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's kind of warm. No, it's hot. It's kind of cold. It's cold.
And it's funny because like either perspective, like the tortoise or the hare can make sense depending on like when you're looking at it or how you're looking at it, the context in which you're looking at it, because ultimately we're going to be dead in the dirt, right? So like, why not live fast and hard?
I will say for me, I think when you talk about like me being risky and like lifestyle choices, I think it's because time slows down the more like I'm in these weird situations and like doing something that's like scary or new. Going to a new city and just trying to make it. Going, like just packing up my shit in my car and going to Florida and trying to make money playing poker and then maybe meet somebody. Like those, every day is unique because I had worked a job where every day was sort of the same, and it's just like time just like goes like that. It's just like a week, but it's like, oh, and then dude, especially when I drank, it was just like work, drink, hungover, work, drink. It was just like every day was the exact same, and all of a sudden like 4 or 5 years had gone by.
Doesn't feel like you're living at all.
Nothing had happened. I can't. I mean, sure, did things, met people, but it was just like this blur.
Well, that's why I feel like it's just like the superficiality of like the monotonous like day-to-day life that we like to accept. Like, okay, you grow up, you go to school, you get your degree, you get a family, you have kids. To me, like that proclaimed fulfillment isn't actual fulfillment. It's just what they tell you is supposed to fulfill you. And then once you start to like, and this is like real fucking like bogus stuff, but like once you start to peel back the layers of the matrix a little bit, you start to see like there's more to this than just like that superficial stuff.
I think there is more to it, but also like
that can be fulfilling.
I'm sure, dude, walking out, like Andrew tells me all the time, he's like, dude, you don't know how good it is when you walk in the door at night and all 3 of your kids are like, they come running up to you and they just want to tell you some dumb shit they did. That's got to feel good.
For sure.
Like, you tell me he wants more kids.
No, I mean like that, like I understand, but like at a certain point, is it because you're trying to find a way to fulfill yourself because you're lacking fulfillment elsewhere?
Sometimes.
Right? Like this, my legacy is my fulfillment.
You look at really healthy family structures in general, and you're going to have people with autonomy amongst that group, right? Like codependency just is, people get drawn to it.
I'm going to laugh when these people like watch our podcast and he's like, well, what was that thing that you said about me? Sorry, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. We didn't say it. It was all nice.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
I do too. For the record.
I just think like I am learning that like I've been very codependent in relationships, and that's probably why a lot of mine just haven't worked out. Is like I've put too much of my needs on the other person and forget to like nourish the parts of me that like I can nourish on my own, because I know that I can nourish them. I know that like by playing music and traveling and hanging out with friends and family and doing things away from my partner, I know those things are going to bring me joy. And I've put too much of those needs sometimes on my partner, and I want them to fill all those holes or whatever, like you have a cup, right? And like some people fill it up a lot more than others, but like it's never going to be all full from one person. Like you're going to have to get it filled from all sorts of different.
Well, that's balance, right? That's
really
just balance. Like everything in life, if you're imbalanced one way or the other, you're going to feel anxious or depressed or like out of sorts for one reason or another. And it's because you're putting too much stock into one thing, right? And so you got to like, okay, this is this part of my life, and this is this part of my life, and this is what keeps me content and happy over here. And then, but I also need to make this person, like as soon as you start introducing like an element of another human being into your life, right? Like at that level as a partner, you then have this whole nother, because you have to look after their needs and their happiness as well. And so that I think is sometimes throws the balance into whack, and it makes it very difficult to find a new balance, right? Because then it's like, okay, now I need to recalibrate, because now I need to make sure they're content and satisfied.
And that's why relationships are hard.
They're tough. Yeah.
Because I mean, I look at all of mine, and it's like, there's moments when you're giving a lot more to them, and then there's moments when you need more, and it's hard to find that balance. And it's hard when you're in it to really scope out. It's so difficult. Like I'm looking at my last one, right? And I'm like, okay. Well, I realized that like we were just definitely on different paths, and like whatever. I'm like, there's so much I could have done better, right? And I'm not like saying that in like a regretful way. Like, oh, I wish I'd done it better so she was still here. It's just like, hey, you got to learn from it, man. Like, I'm not trying to get that person back. I just want to be a better person for myself, and then hopefully to a future partner, and like, I want to lie to myself. Like, oh, it was more her than me. But it's like, was it? Like, I don't know. Maybe.
There's a reason why they say hindsight's 2020. It's because you have a better perspective of what's happening. And in the same way, I think when you're in it, it's hard to see like, am I the problem? Are they the problem? But people from the external world, maybe your friends or her friends or just like neutral parties that like know the two of you, have a better idea, are able to better discern what's actually happening. Because when you're in it, it's like, that's
dude,
why
love is blinding, dude. It's like,
yeah,
it like you just your hormones and pheromones and just adrenaline and dopamine. It affects all of that, you know. It's a drug. It's crazy.
It is. Yeah. It's the ultimate drug, right? It's like the biological drug that we're supposed to have in order to procreate.
It's literally what has gotten our species to the point it's at.
Yeah.
It's like our ability to love, because like that feel good response, I want to do more of that. And the more I do that, the better off kind of species is, right?
Well, some species like don't do it for out of anything other than instinct. Just pure, like there's no hedonism involved or like.
No, I think less, but the more intelligent a being becomes,
totally,
then the more hedonistic it probably inherently becomes too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like all the animals that mate for like pleasure are highly intelligent.
But like with everything changing.
Maybe not though. Maybe ants are just like fucking.
You never know.
They're not.
They're not. Probably not.
Maybe, I don't know. We saw those pigeons today. Something was happening.
They were getting into it.
That was like some BDSM shit.
Yeah.
That was just.
But like we can't get into their heads, so we're just like, oh, they're just like. But
maybe she has a fetish. Maybe she wanted him to peck her in the head. She's like, I got pecked in the head as a kid.
Jesus.
I'm kidding. See, we'll cut that out.
Nah, I think that stays in. Has to stay. That has to stay in. Because that's what it is a lot of these childhood traumas. Like, let's get into that, dude. Because like a lot of these childhood traumas manifest in these toxic, because like this is something that nobody talks about. It's like this like dark joke that everybody talks amongst themselves about. But then like once we get into this like society, everybody wants to bury it because it's uncomfortable, right? It's like, but that's what it is. It's like there's these childhood traumas that we want to just like suppress and just kind of like make lighthearted, half-hearted jokes about and just put into the darkest recesses of our minds and never have to think about. And then it just manifests as itself, right? Like the people that get touched as kids end up touching kids and shit.
You don't realize how much like your past and your trauma really just affects your day-to-day decisions. Like just simple things. Like, we don't talk about it enough, and it's hard because it's hard. It's hard to relive those things.
It's becoming a trope at this point, I think, in like society, but I don't think it's, you know, it can be mentioned enough that trauma is a virus, right? Like once you infect somebody with that virus, then they are like, that is going to affect them. The trauma that you inflicted onto them.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And some traumas are worse than others, right? But like, and some of the viruses are more impactful than others, but inevitably as long as, if somebody's super, super mindful, then they can maybe prevent it from passing. Like maybe they're wearing protection when they start, you know, like communicating and interacting with other people. But like generally speaking, I think most people don't wear protection and aren't having prophylactics for these types of viruses, and they just spread them wantonly in traffic or with their relationships with their kids or their coworkers or whatever, right?
But it's like you also need some of that, right? You can't. I mean, or else we're just gonna end up these super guarded, like narcissistic, alone things, right? That are just like AI. I mean, at that point, you're just going to be a robot.
Well, I think I don't have any problem with like interaction. I think it's just like we need to be honest with ourselves about our traumas and try to figure out how to prevent passing the parasites and the viruses along to other people that we inherit, right?
It's like you're going to do it no matter what, right?
100%.
Like, and that's the fear of like having children. You're like, fuck, I don't want to fuck these kids up. You're going to fuck them up. Like, it's going to happen.
This is mitigation.
Like, don't fuck them up too bad.
Yeah.
Like, maybe fuck them up and, you know, you're going to fuck them up in this way, but hopefully give them the tools to like deal with what, because I mean,
I don't know how much YouTube's going to like us saying, because we've said a lot.
Do we say a lot?
We say a lot.
It's like one of my favorite words.
It's the best word.
It's probably the most versatile word there is.
YouTube is so lame, bro.
So they don't like
no, it's just
Baba Booey.
They don't like it's a bad one. They'd hate.
Why?
I don't know.
My mom hates that word. Women don't like that word.
You know, the cool part is if I can figure out this editing bull, like I can just beep, 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 we'll just beep. I don't know if like I'll be able to do that. Like,
It's hard, dude. I have not ever had to be in a situation since like early teenage years where I wasn't allowed to say.
Yeah.
I've never had a job where I couldn't say.
and you can say on YouTube. It's just, will they monetize it and let you make money?
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope those
Baba Booey.
at YouTube monetize us as many times we say. We're too controversial already, dude.
Yeah, dude. We're living on the edge, buddy.
Podcast 1.5. We're
Already
we're-
canceled by like 5 different like demographics.
Yeah, that was the goal, really.
Yeah.
Either like straight shot to stardom or just like alienate every person around me.
Live fast and die hard, baby.
Exactly.
There's like one person watching this, just like some like dude in a basement masturbating like vigorously. These dudes are attractive,
Or unattractive, but
or just
that's what
hideous. That's what he's into. That's what that dude's into.
I'm just glad I could support that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm like providing entertainment of any sort, it gives my life purpose. So right on.
Whack away.
Please watch us again
Subscribe
on
to me.
loop. Subscribe, like, comment.
No, I made a.
I haven't had to say that yet. We haven't said that yet. We need to get used to being like, comment, subscribe.
I'm never gonna get used to that.
No, that
Never something
sucks.
I'm ever gonna say.
Just trash people.
No, that's
Trash sayings.
yeah, they are trash things. So
Yeah.
I'm never gonna say that.
If we get popular at some point in the future, you can play this back. If I ever start saying that, just like
Cancel me then.
cancel me, end me.
Literally, you're allowed to end me.
Yeah, like play this on repeat right now. Like end it. Likely we'll never see the light of day anyway.
No, I'm serious. Like
It might.
Like I can't. Here, my biggest fear is. We gotta cut this out. This is just me talking out my ass.
Hold up. Actually, let's do this. And we're back. We haven't played with those enough. Does this stop?
And his name is John C.
We're back.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen.
What's new? What is good? Dude, yeah, we had to take a little reprieve there.
But we're
I was
back.
having a mental health issue. That was very important, though. I think we didn't solve anything that I was worried about, but
And good.
it's out in the open now.
No, I think that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to present as many problems as possible and solve as little as possible.
And his name is John C.
Sorry, I meant to do that one.
Baba Booey.
I just want to bring the problems to people's attention so somebody else can solve them. You know, because I'm not smart enough to solve these problems.
No, if any
But-
of you out there, like, please, in the comments, if you've heard any of these problems that we've presented to you that you think you've solved or you have a good idea about, we would honestly love to hear your feedback, and we would love to actually bring them up on a podcast, on the next podcast, on any podcast. Like, we think that you had this perspective, and we'll either integrate it into our perspective, or we may shit on it entirely. But we would love to hear your perspective.
I gotta look in the camera more.
Yeah, I got like pitties going on too, so I'm just like, well,
It's middle of summer, dude.
it's pretty hot. We can't run the AC because like it's too distracting.
I'm hungry.
Can we wrap this up?
Yeah. We spent about an hour in. That's pretty good. We got some good stuff.
Was that just an hour?
I don't know. I'm looking at how long it's been recording.
Okay, so yeah, we got about an hour. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong one. All right. Standing O after our like first real podcast. The other one was like kind of just a
Trial run.
Trial
Pilot.
run. This was a real one.
It's like season 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any famous individuals out there that are watching this, reach out. Have your people reach out to our people, and we'll have you on the podcast. We'll have you to the studio.
Trust me, we're in a studio.
All right. Thanks. See you later, everybody.